So today we are going to be talking about the Sarasa Grand Renewal. So we all know we're in this new era of price increases, but one thing I actually like about Zebra and Uni is that instead of just doing these blanket price increases on their products, they're actually looking at ways they might be able to improve the product to justify the price increase. So, sometimes it feels like a denial of the times, but I also think of it as, well, at least, sometimes we're getting something out of the price increase. Okay, so that's the bad part of this new Sarasa Grand Renewal out of the way, and that is that it has a price increase on it, of course. But let's look at the 4 ways they've improved the product, because I'm pretty pleased personally with some of the decisions they've made. And I think there will be, for everyone, at least something in the renewal that you will like. So first of all, I think this is going to be the big one for a lot of people. And that is that the current, or should I say older version, I'm actually going to open this one up so that we can compare it here. So the current old version, not to be confused with the renewal, you can see how the clip comes up pretty high. And now they've got it so that your clip is going to be closer to flush with where the cap comes down. Now, the reason this is a very desired thing for a lot of people is if you are used to clicking with your thumb, you might have noticed that with the older version, your thumb is hitting this. It's not super comfortable. But the thing that really bothered a lot of people is that if you were a table clicker, it would actually keep you from being able to click properly. You'd have to lean it in this very specific way to be able to click the pen. Now, I didn't notice this because I am not a table clicker, but I had a lot of table clickers complain to me about this, and as you can see now, you can, no problem, click it on the table. You don't have to be all suave about the angle of your pen while you're clicking it, which of course you should not have to be. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that are really happy about that new feature. And so one more time, I'm going to kind of show you how those clips are falling differently. So in my left hand here is the, we'll just call it previous Sarasa Grand body, whereas in my right hand is the new renewal version. Now, before I forget to tell you, as of right now, this previous version is still available in their catalog, which means we're still able to order it right now. I don't know how long that is still going to be the case. You can see I have over here an even older version that isn't available anymore, at least in the Japanese market, but the clip on that one came up too high also. That is if you are a table clicker. All right, so that is improvement number 1 that I'm sure will have a lot of fans. So moving on to the next set of improvements is that they've made the pen a smidge lighter, and they've lowered the center of gravity. So the pen overall is less likely to give you writing fatigue if that's something that you have trouble with. And at the very least will increase the amount of time you can use it before you would be getting writing fatigue. So I guess according to, the press release that they put out, there were a lot of people who asked for the pen to be a little bit lighter. And if I recall correctly, I think it's just like 5 grams lighter. It's a very small amount of difference, so it still feels like a nice weighted pen. But again, they also lowered that center of gravity. So just overall, more ergonomic pen. And then finally, the pen body overall, even though it's technically 0.5 millimeters shorter, this is so the nib, the pen nib, can come out that amount, 0.5 millimeters more. So this makes it easier to see the nib when you're writing. And even though this probably sounds like a very insignificant thing to some of you, let me actually remove this so I can show you. For me, this is a huge deal because this actually made, I felt a huge, let me see if I can zoom in here. So, made a huge difference in my handwriting. So just this nose, this tip coming out more gives me much better handwriting, and it is one of the reasons I tend to still reach for the old version because this one right here, for any of you who remember this old gold body, the tip came out farther in that older one, and I thought it was much better for the handwriting. So I'm very glad that they ended up incorporating that feature into this new renewal, because that was something that always bothered me a little bit about this one. I felt like the nib didn't come out far enough, and you wouldn't think half a millimeter would make a big difference, but it does. So those are the main body features, but they actually didn't stop there, which is kind of cool. So when they did these surveys about these surveys of course were in Japan, but when they did these surveys about what people would like in their Sarasa Grand bodies, a lot of people said, hey, I would like my Sarasa Grand Vintage to be available also in 0.3 and not have to order it in 0.5. So for five of the vintage colors, but technically 6 body colors, they are going to let you pick 0.3, and the refills will also be available. And then as far as the 0.5 goes, it's still going to be that exact same lineup that you are already used to in the current Sarasa Grand Vintage. All the colors that are available right now in 0.5 are still going to be available in 0.5. It's just that in the 0.3, you now have the addition of, well, I can show you here. So the matte black, and then these 5 vintage colors, the blue black, also known as dark blue in the vintage series, camel yellow, cassis black, green black, and brown gray. And then of course it doesn't matter, if you get your 0.3 and you decide, oh, I actually do like the thicker tip size, you can of course refill it with whatever tip size you prefer. You don't have to stick with the 0.3. The tip is on the actual refill itself, and so your pen can accommodate any of those tip sizes. I know that's something that tends to confuse some people, so I want to make sure you know that. So, as a tiny writer, I'm really glad to be able to get this in 0.3. I know, green black is one of my favorite colors, so I'm glad that's coming in the 0.3. Probably there will be some people who will see their favorite missing from what they decided so far. But who knows, maybe they will expand that range at some point, not sure. But those are basically all the new features of this new Sarasa Grand body. So the other kind of new thing that is related to this series is that the Sarasa Nano in 0.38 are now coming out in some vintage colors. And so I'm going to do a separate video to go over that, just so that we don't get even further confused. But in the meantime, any questions you have about this new Sarasa Grand body, Sarasa Grand Renewal it's called, please do let me know. And again, the current, or should we say previous, this gets a little confusing, is still available. So if you prefer this, you can still get it right now. It is still the previous cheaper price. So the price increase is only on the new renewal version. All right, well, I will talk to you all soon in the Sarasa Nano 0.38 vintage video. Bye-bye.